Good morning, everyone. Glad you could join us. My name is Stacy Carter, and I will be your host today regarding the SB1013 Wine and Distilled Spirit Expansion. Before we get started, we're going to go over the agenda and some opening remarks from some CalRecycle members. It is 10 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, today's agenda. We're going to go over quite a few different things. We're going to have some introductions and some opening remarks. We're going to go over how to submit questions and comments that you have during the presentation and after the presentation. We're going to do an overview of the new beverages covered by SB 1013 and the container types. We're going to go over who's a beverage manufacturer, processing fees, an overview of what those are. We're going to go over who a beverage distributor is, what California redemption value is, the registration process to get you into our system, the labeling requirements of SB 1013, and some examples. And then, of course, we're going to have our question and answer session. First off, let's do some quick introductions. We're going to have some opening remarks from Amy Cameron. She is our Assistant Director for Recycling. I, of course, am Stacy Carter. I am the Registration Unit Supervisor, and I will be giving you the presentation regarding SB 1013 for beverage manufacturers and distributors. I have some assistance here from some of my other coworkers. So question and feedback are going to be handled by Shamila Tucker, Supervisor of the Participant Management Unit, and Jennifer Akins, who is our branch chief. I also have Cami Jan helping us. Her name did not make it onto the slide, but she will also be assisting when it comes to questions and answers. All righty. All right, Amy, anything you'd like to say?
Hi, thank you, Stacy. Thank you all for joining us today to learn more about the Beverage Container Recycling Program. And for those that are new to the bottle bill, welcome. I know for many of you, there is a lot to learn about the program and your new responsibilities. I can confidently say the entire team at BCRP is here to help you. And please take advantage of the technical assistance the BCRP Industry Services section has to offer. They are dedicated to this program and are willing to help you, whether it be a question about DORIS or a labeling review. They are able and willing to help all new 8,000 beverage manufacturers. Today's presentation will walk you through the process and answer many of your questions. Again, welcome to the Beverage Container Recycling Program and for helping to recycle in California. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. All right. Moving on. So SB 1013 was approved by Governor Newsom last fall in September on the 27th. This legislative bill brings in wines and distilled spirits into the California Beverage Container Recycling Program, effective January 1st, 2024. Effective January 1st, 2024, the California Beverage Container Recycling and Litter Reduction Act will include some new beverage containers and some new beverage categories. I feel like I've skipped over a slide. If you guys have questions during this presentation, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We're going to read those live at the end. Also, at the end of the presentation, we'll be taking live questions. We'll have you raise your hand at that point if you have anything additional that you didn't put into the questions during the presentation. So feel free to use that Q&A button, and we will get to those questions at the end of the presentation. All right, back to this. Effective January 1st, 2024, SB 1013 will be bringing in new beverages and new beverage containers into our program. The new beverages will include wine, both sparkling and carbonated, wine from which alcohol has been removed in whole or in part, distilled spirits, and makes a change to the definition of wine and distilled spirit coolers. Now, what this means is all of your standard wines, your Merlots, your Zinfandels, your Chardonnays, all of those are being brought into the program next year. It also includes your California sparkling wines and your champagnes. If you happen to have a wine that has alcohol removed or is an alcohol-free wine, those are being brought in. Wine is also going to include all of the hard ciders that are offered for sale in California. Distilled spirits included will be your whiskeys, your tequilas, your gins, your vodkas. All of those types of distilled spirits are being brought in next year. And as far as the wine cooler and distilled spirit cooler, currently wine coolers and distilled spirit coolers are in the program if they contain 7% or less of alcohol by volume. SB1013 changed this definition to remove the alcohol by volume percentage. So what that means is that next year, any product that contains wine or distilled spirits with flavors or sugars or anything added to it will be brought into the program regardless of the alcohol by volume. This is going to include all of your ready-to-drink mixed cocktails. SB1013 also brings in some new containers specific to wine and distilled spirits. So a wine or distilled spirit, bottled, box, sold in a box, bladder, pouch, or similar type container will be covered. So this will be your wine in box that has the bladder inside. This would be a pouch that sits on its own, could be an aseptic container or a carton. If it contains wine or distilled spirits, it will be part of the program in 2024. Now, this is very, very specific to wine and distilled spirits. As a consumer next year, when you go to the grocery store and you're in the back trying to buy your milk and you see orange juice in a carton, that will still not be covered under our program. Boxes and pouches are specific to when the liquid inside is wine or distilled spirits. All right. There are two entities that pay into our program. One is the beverage manufacturer and the other is the beverage distributor. Now, you may be a beverage manufacturer, or you could be a distributor, or you may be both, or you may be neither. This is all depending on your business practices regarding manufacturing, importing, and sales of beverages in California. We're going to start by talking about the beverage manufacturer. Now, beverage manufacturer is a term used in industry and means a certain thing when industry members use it. When we speak about beverage manufacturer, we are going to be talking about, the people with CalRecycle are talking about beverage manufacturer as the definition exists in the Act. So that definition that is in the Act is not always the same as what industry uses. So you don't always have to be the brand owner or own the product to be identified as the beverage manufacturer. What I'm going to do is I am going to read through these 4 bullet points, let you hear them, see them, kind of absorb them, and then I'm going to work my way back up this list and give you some additional information. Okay, so for the purpose of paying processing fees and CRV labeling, the Act specifically identifies the beverage manufacturer as anyone who bottles, cans, or fills beverage containers in California, or anyone who imports beverages into California for sale to distributors, dealers, or consumers. Anyone who holds a certificate of compliance with the California Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control. This is specific to beer and malt beverages. Or with SB 1013, a new addition is any out-of-state entity holding a wine direct shipper's permit with the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control. This last point is new because of SB 1013 and is specific to out-of-state wineries who are sending products such as wine club shipments from out of state directly to a California consumer. So if you are an out-of-state winery and you are sending wine because of wine shipment or offer online sales, and those sales are shipped directly to a California consumer, you will be identified as the beverage manufacturer for those products being shipped to the California consumer. I'm going to move up one. If your company holds a certificate of compliance with ABC, you are also identified as the beverage manufacturer. And this is specific to beer and malt. These tend to be out-of-state entities that are sending beer into California. Not always, but generally we see out-of-state entities. If you hold a certificate of compliance, you should already be registered with us. This particular definition has been in our act for decades. But if you do hold one, you are a beverage manufacturer by our definition. Anyone who imports beverages into California for sale to distributors, dealers, or consumers. Now, if you're a licensed importer and you're bringing in wine from another state or another country, or if you're bringing in distilled spirits, or even if you're bringing in water or soda, if you are bringing product in, importing it, and you're receiving it, you become the beverage manufacturer by our definition. Now, we understand that you do not own the label, that you did not put the liquid in the bottle. Based on how the act is written, at the point that you import it, you take on the responsibilities as the beverage manufacturer under our law. And then finally, anyone who bottles, cans, or fills beverage containers in California. Now note, this doesn't say you own the brand or the label. It says the entity who is bottle or canning the product. So I'm going to just use winery as an example, but of course this can be anywhere in the industry. If you are a winery and you're a large production facility, you own your own bottling equipment and you just move the wine to the other room, you fill it there on site with your equipment and your employees, you're going to be a beverage manufacturer because you filled containers. If you take that wine and you put it on a truck and you send it down the street and you're using a co-packer and the co-packer fills the bottles and then sends those bottles back to you, that co-packer is the beverage manufacturer by our definition. And finally, the question that we've been getting quite often, because wineries are using mobile bottlers that come to your facility, they own the equipment, they're running the equipment, they're the beverage manufacturer, right? If they have control over it and there's somebody, one of their employees is there to make sure the equipment is running appropriately, they are the beverage manufacturer. I know that gets a lot of groans. The wine industry, we have had some inquiries on if the winery can pay the fees associated with this, and they can. So if you're a winery and you want to take on the responsibilities of beverage manufacturer, please let us know during your registration. The mobile bottler will have to register, but we can set it up for you to make those payments. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. All right, beverage manufacturers are responsible for reporting and paying processing fees. What is a processing fee? A processing fee is an amount paid by the beverage manufacturer to help offset the cost of recycling the container. Like everything, things cost money. So when a person returns their container to a recycling center, there's an employee there that looks at it. They have to store it. They have to move it. They have to process it and get it over to move it and do whatever they do to make it into something else. And all of that costs money. People don't do things when they lose money. So we have to offset those costs so we can guarantee that, or help guarantee that these products are actually getting made into something else, these containers, rather than getting thrown in the landfill. All right. Processing fees rates vary based on container material, meaning that glass has a rate, bimetal has a rate. There are 7 different types of plastics, and each one of those different plastics has its own rate. These rates change each and every calendar year. They are recalculated. So it may go up or down depending on a variety of issues. Those rates for each year are recalculated and usually published in December for the following calendar year. And when you're reporting processing fees as a beverage manufacturer, the size of the container does not matter. You will be paying the same processing fee rate for a small glass bottle as you would for a large glass bottle. So if you have, for the winery, if you have a split or a small dessert wine, the processing fee for that bottle is the same as a full-size bottle of wine or even a Magnum. There's only one rate, and it's based on the container material. Now, since these rates change from year to year, I don't have the 2024 rates for you yet. All I can show you is the 2023 rates and give you an idea of what you might be looking at for next year. As you can see, these are each a fraction of a penny. and they would be paid per container, per individual container. For 2023, glass is 0.00452. Plastic is 0.00005. That was 4 zeros and a 5. And then the processing fee equivalent for this year is 0.00762. All right, moving on to distributor. A distributor under the Act is anyone who sells beverage containers to a dealer in California. So if you are selling any kind of beverage, wine, distilled spirits, or even if you're currently handling water and soda, if you are selling beverages direct to a dealer in California, you are the distributor. You are responsible for the collection and reporting of CRV. If you have imported a beverage, you are the beverage manufacturer based on the last slide, and you resell those direct to a dealer or a consumer, you also become the beverage distributor. So if you're importing and you're selling to dealers or consumers, you are both going to be a beverage manufacturer and a distributor. If you are an out-of-state entity holding a direct wine shipper's permit, again, you're the beverage manufacturer as identified on the previous slide. You are also the distributor for those items sent direct to California consumers. And finally, a beverage manufacturer or brand owner selling direct to a consumer in California. This would be your wine tasting rooms. I assume that distilled spirits also have tasting rooms. If you're selling your product direct to the consumer without a middleman in there, you're going to be the distributor for those direct sales. All right. Now, distributors collect and submit the CRV minus a 1.5% administrative fee, which is a discount given to the distributor for handling the paperwork and submitting the fees. Now, CRV is a consumer incentive to recycle the container. They generally have to pay it at the point that they buy it, and they get the redemption value back when they take it to a recycler. This is the point. They have an incentive to make sure it gets recycled and not thrown in the landfill. Now, CRV, when collected at the time of sale by the distributor, is a pass-through. If you collect it when you sell it, you will hold on to it and you will pass it through to CalRecycle, less 1.5% that you get to keep for handling that paperwork. If you fail or decide not to collect CRV at the time that you sell it, the distributor is still responsible to pay it, and it does become an out-of-pocket expense for you. So it can be a pass-through. If you choose not to collect it, just know that you will still be responsible for reporting and paying this. Now, glass, plastic, aluminum, bimetal containers have been in our program for quite a long time, and containers that are under 24 ounces, so 0 through 23.9 ounces, are 5 cents per container. So if you have a small soda, if you have a very small amount of whatever, they're going to be the 5 cents and 10 cents, the small single serve types of containers. If you have a product in a container that is 24 ounces or above in glass, plastic, aluminum, or bimetal, that deposit rate is going to be 10 cents. So this is your standard wine bottles, your large, 1.5 liter of distilled spirits. Those larger containers are going to be 10 cents. Now, for the new material types, black box, bladder, pouch rates. When they contain wine and distilled spirits, if it's a box, a large box, say a gallon size. If it is a small box, that would be a single serving size. If it is not a glass, plastic, aluminum, or bimetal container, it is one of the new box, bladder, pouch, or similar containers. That rate is going to be 25 cents per container, regardless of the size. There is no size delineation or a size determination based on this particular material. So 25 cents, regardless if it's a large container or a small container. All righty. So you guys have heard a little bit about what a beverage manufacturer is. You've heard what a distributor is. In your head, you know, I think I'm one of these. If you are, I need you guys to fill out a registration form. If you, and specifically for wine and distilled spirits, if you are holding an importer's license with ABC, a wholesaler license, any kind of a license that allows you to manufacture distilled spirits in California, you likely need to be registered. So please, I'm going to need you to fill out one of these so we can get you into our system. Reporting of CRV and processing fees begins with the January 2024 reporting period. We need to get everybody registered before then. We are expecting a rush of people submitting their applications or their registration forms last minute. So the sooner you can do this, the better. So if you could today, tomorrow, next week, get this in, we'll get you processed and on your way. We are expecting a bottleneck as we get to the end of the year, just based on sheer volume and number of registration forms we will be receiving. On this form, there is a specific question asking the date the company began sales. Now, this form was not just designed for wine and distilled spirits. This is a form that we have been using forever. It has been modified to include wine and distilled spirits. So what this particular question means to you is, when did your company, when did your business start selling beverages which are covered under the Act? And that date is January 1st, 2024. I don't need to know that your winery opened in 1985. I need to know when you started selling beverages covered under the Act. So if you give me a very old date, it will be changed to January 2024. Now, how do I find the registration form? The easiest and most effective way is go to Google, type in CalRecycle registration. It will be the very top result, registration for beverage distributors and manufacturers. That is just the easiest way to do it. However, if you like to type in web addresses, here is our web address direct to our page. It's calrecycle.ca.gov/bev container /bev distributor manufacturer /registration. Now, once you get there, you're going to see a web page that looks very similar to this. On the lower third of the page, under the title, the subtitle registration process, you're going to see two blue hyperlinks. One is the online registration form. This will allow you to submit your information directly. As soon as you hit submit, we're going to get that information and you'll get an email showing you exactly what you submitted. If you need more time, you want to look at the questions, there is a PDF version. You can download that and fill it out at your leisure. That can be submitted by emailing it back, faxing, or putting it in the mail. We'll take it any way you want to give it to us. Just send it back somehow. Now, once we receive your registration form, my staff are going to review it. They are likely going to ask you some additional questions, so be prepared. We need to fully understand who's producing the product, who's bottling the product, and where is it going in California, so that we can figure out if you meet one or both of those definitions of beverage manufacturer and distributor. If you meet one or both, you will be assigned an account number or account numbers and an account representative. And you're going to leave the registration unit in your file. Your account is going to be moved over to our sister unit, the participant management unit. Now, the participant management unit oversees ongoing reporting and payments and questions from participants regarding these types of things. They're going to help you by granting you access to our online reporting. Our CRV and processing fee reports are submitted electronically through our system called Doris. So they'll work with you to get you access to that. They're going to provide training to you on what to report, when to report, any other questions that you have. They're there to answer those for you. If you get a new accountant or somebody new takes over the reporting, they will work with that new person and get them trained on what needs to happen. And should you have any questions in the future, they are the perfect place to start. They will get you in touch with, they will either answer your question or get you in touch with the right unit who can. Now, effective January 1st, 2024, if you have been designated as a distributor, you are going to begin charging and collecting CRV. You're going to keep track of all your sales for the individual containers from January 1st all the way to January 31st. Now, once the month ends, you're going to start collecting your numbers so that you can get the reports submitted. That report is going to be due on February 28th, 2024. The reporting period opens February 1st, so you have the option of reporting anytime as long as we get that report submitted before February 28th. If you are deemed a beverage manufacturer, you're going to track your sales and your transfers from January 1st to January 31st. Once the end of the month occurs and February opens the reporting period, you get all your numbers together. The beverage manufacturer has a slightly different due date. You actually have until March 10th of 2024 to get that report in. If you would like, you of course can report early as long as it's in by March 31st. If you are deemed both a distributor and a beverage manufacturer, most of our companies that hold both log in one time, submit both reports, and issue a single check for both payments. Your checks are considered received on time as long as they're postmarked by the due date. All right, labeling, what everybody wants to hear about. Now, wine and distilled spirit containers must be labeled by July 1st of 2025. Now, CRV labeling is optional between January 1st, 2024 and June 30th, 2025. This is your transition period. This is your grace period. This is when you should be moving to get all of your new containers labeled with a CRV message. You need to add this label based on when the item is expected to be offered for sale. So for wineries and a few of the distilled spirit manufacturers, wine is produced in advance, and it's often bottled in advance and then cellared and held aged before it's offered for sale. So if you're bottling this year, but you know the product will not be offered for sale until 24 or 25 or 26, however long you're going to cellar it, we suggest that you're labeling it now. It's not being offered for sale now, so it doesn't matter that the CRV message is on there early, but this will prepare you and have you ready to go when that product is offered for sale. So if you're doing any bottling now and you know that product is not going to be offered until after the go live date of 2024, we suggest you consider labeling it so it's ready and you don't have to go back and try to figure out how to label it after the fact. Now, there are 5 CRV message options that you can choose from. California redemption value, all spelled out, CA redemption value, California cash refund, CA cash refund, and of course, the most popular is CA space CRV. Please note that there is no monetary value associated to any of these. You can choose any of the ones, but don't put 5 cents next to it. Don't put 10 cents next to it. Don't put 25, just the letters of the CRV message. Okay. CRV labeling and size requirements. The CRV message must be clear, prominent, and indelibly marked, meaning it doesn't come off. So try to keep those in mind when you're thinking about labeling your container. For glass and plastic containers, the message must be on the container body, label, or secondary label in a height of 3/16 of an inch, or can be a minimum text height of 1/8 of an inch in a contrasting color to the background and nearby text. So for glass and plastic containers, it's pretty much the same. It doesn't really matter that the container material is different. Now for aluminum cans, if you are using these, the CRV message must be on the top lid. If you're using a standard soda or beer can, that message is going to be 3/16 of an inch in height. If you're using the skinnier Splendor cans, those tops that are 2 inches or less must be 1/8 of an inch in height. There is nothing in the regulations that allows that will allow us to approve a message on the side of an aluminum container. The message is required to be on the top. Now, the requirements for box, bladder, and pouch are yet to be determined. So I don't have any specifics for you on this. They are coming, regulations are in progress, and you'll be notified when you can contribute to that conversation. Now, when it comes to wine and distilled spirits, these companies are allowed to self-certify that their labels meet the requirements. Now, we don't have the self-certification completely hammered out. What I can tell you is that as you register and you're talking to us, we are not going to force you to send us your labels. However, we are here to help you. So we recommend that you make adjustments, add the message to 1 or 2 of your labels and send them over. We're happy to look at them, let you know if you're on the right track, if you're meeting the requirements. Again, you don't have to send them in. You need to meet these requirements, but you don't have to send them in. We are here to help you and to, help you feel good that you've met all the requirements. So feel free to reach out to us for assistance. Here are some textbook examples of what we need to see on a label. This first example is a cash refund value message with a text height of 3/16 of an inch. As you can see, it is the same color as surrounding text. It does not need to be a different color or any different because the height on it meets that 3/16 of an inch requirement. The center example is a CRV message in 1/8 inch and a contrasting color. As you can see, the background is white, the surrounding text is black. So the red color that they've decided to use here helps that message stand out and makes it easy to find. And again, on the lids of aluminum containers, the message has to be visible and in a place that remains visible while in use. So get it on the lid and please don't put it on the part that gets pushed down because you won't be able to see it and we need to see it. Here are some other images, examples of clear and prominent. So when you're thinking about adding the message, keep in mind clear and prominent. The message should stand out. It should be fairly easy to find in relation to the other text that you have on your label. So on the one that's white background with green lettering, this is a 3/16 of an inch. And as you can see, it is surrounded by other messages and information. But when you glance at it, it's very easy to see. It's very distinct. It's very prominent. The one in black, this is a Cabernet that we recently reviewed. This came from a California winery that has approval to use this on or after January of 2024. Now, in this case, the winery specifically asked if there was a way that they could label in a smaller font, the 1/8 inch of a font, without a secondary color. So it has been reviewed in the past, and it considers to be our policy that if you choose to use a 1/8 inch text and you put a text box around it, we believe this makes it prominent and clearly visible. So if you choose to go with the smaller format in 1/8 of an inch and you want to use a text box, the font needs to be 1/8 of an inch and then the box goes around it. Don't send us a box that's 1/8 of an inch with little tiny lettering. The font must be 1/8 and then the box goes around that. Now there are questions about product that is in the warehouse or on the shelf that is not labeled by January 1st, 2025. Then we're going to need to somehow get that message on there. Temporary options such as stickers, ink jetting, or otherwise permanent stamping can be added. We do allow stickers on plastic and glass. We will not allow stickers on the top of aluminum cans. It just doesn't stay on and it doesn't make it through normal use all the way to the recycling centers. So here's some examples of what a sticker might look like. The message must be clear, prominent, and indelibly marked. This means that the redemption message is permanent and affixed to the beverage container from the point of purchase until the point of redemption and cannot be smeared or removed during normal use. So when you're thinking about stickering or adding some sort of an inkjet or stamp to your container, for the ones that are not labeled on July 1st, 2025, if someone picks it up with damp hands, is the message going to stay on and not smear off? If somebody pours wine and they dribble it down the side, is the sticker going to stay in place and not come off quickly, easily, or smear? These are the things you have to think about. That message needs to stay on from the point of sale to the point of redemption. All right, here's some examples of what not to do when it comes to label messaging. In this top one, they placed a 5-cent monetary value next to the message. We don't want to see a monetary value next to the message, and this is really for your benefit. It's rare that the CRV amount changes, but it has in the past, and it could in the future. And the last thing you want to do is try to figure out how to fix a label that has a wrong amount on it. So only put the message, no monetary value. Down in the bottom, we are not going to allow stickers on can lids. They just simply do not hold up. They mostly come off. So if you have, again, containers, we're going to need some sort of an inkjet or other permanent solution. You have the 5 options for the CA cash refund message. That message is a single line item. It must be all together on one line. Don't break it up into 2 lines. Remember, it must be prominent from surrounding text. So if you're labeling and you have lots of other states or information in the area, it needs to stand out. It needs to be prominent. It can't just blend in with the rest of the message. And then finally, like I said on the previous one, if you choose to use the text box, the letters must be 1/8 of an inch with the box around it. If you give me a box that's 1/8, those letters will not meet the height requirement. All right, some additional considerations regarding CRV labeling. SB 1013 revised 14561D to read that the department may require that a beverage container intended for sale be printed, embossed, stamped, or labeled, or otherwise marked with a scan code or quick response code or universal product code or similar. The QR code has been added per 1013. CalRecycle is still reviewing all aspects of 1013 and the impact of this specific provision on stakeholders. To better understand this aspect, CalRecycle would like to meet with those currently using QR codes and those who are looking to invest in this type of technology. So if you are one of those entities, we are planning a meeting. It will happen on June 14th at 1 p.m. To participate, please email Erica Butler, erica.butler@calrecycle.ca.gov for the invitation. So please reach out to her if you're interested in participating. Other considerations, PRC 14561 prohibits any person or entity from selling a CRV product which has not been properly labeled in accordance with the Act and regulations. That means, as of July 1st, 2025, wine and distilled spirit products are subject to the program. They will need to have a label on them by July 1st, 2025. If they do not have a label on them July 1st, the brand owner can't sell them, the distributor can't sell them, the retailer can't sell them. They have to have a label on them to be sold on or after July 1st, 2025. And then finally, just some contact information. If you have registration or labeling questions, feel free to reach out to the registration unit at 916-323-1835, or you can email us at reg.crvlabeling@calrecycle.ca.gov. The online registration form is available on our website at this address. However, again, the easiest way, Google CalRecycle registration. It will be your very first option and will take you to this website. And we're encouraging everyone to enroll in the CalRecycle listserv for future workshops, seminar announcements, etc. Go ahead and go to www.calrecycle.ca.gov listserv and sign up. We will give you information on upcoming seminars and keep you informed on any and all changes associated with beverage manufacturers and distributors. All right, we are going to move on to questions and answers. Please use the Q&A button below or raise your hand. I think we're going to start by reading off some questions that we received and then move into the live questions.